Well, it was a combination of the passion for music had left me.
After years of silence, at the age of 76, Steve Perry, former lead singer of legendary rock band Journey, has broken his silence to reveal the shocking truth about his departure from the band and his chaotic relationship with Arnel Pineda. It may shock you, but you need to hear it. Join us as we reveal what Steve had to say about Arnel Pineda. When Arnel Pineda joined Journey as the new lead singer, it marked a major shift for the band. Arnel, a Filipino singer, was discovered after a video of his performance went viral on YouTube, and Neil Sean from Journey reached out to him. Arnel's voice, which closely resembled Steve Perry's, made him a perfect fit for the band, but stepping into such big shoes was no small task. The pressure was on. He had to keep Journey's legacy alive while also making his mark. Luckily, Arnel proved himself, and Journey continued to tour and release music, thrilling both old fans and new ones. His energy brought something fresh to the group, while still staying true to the classic sound Journey was known for. Despite Arnel's success, comparisons to Steve Perry were inevitable. Perry had been the face of Journey during their peak, and his voice was legendary. For Arnel, it was both an honor and a challenge to step into those shoes. While he wasn't trying to replace Perry, fans couldn't help but compare the two. Arnel always expressed how much he admired Steve Perry, not only for his vocal talent, but for his influence on rock music. Though Arnel had the opportunity to sing the classic Journey hits, he also made sure to bring his own style to the band, ensuring Journey's music stayed relevant while paying respect to Perry's incredible legacy. It was a balancing act, but one that Arnel navigated with passion and dedication. As Journey continued their successful run with Arnel Pineda as the lead singer, the inevitable comparisons to Steve Perry began to stir tension both within the band and among fans. Rumors started to swirl about how Arnel felt about constantly being compared to Perry, and whether the band members, especially Neil Sean, were truly supportive of him stepping into such a high-pressure role. Fans, too, were divided. Some embraced Arnel as a worthy successor, while others couldn't let go of Perry's iconic presence. These whispers of discontent began to grow, fueling speculation about internal conflicts within the band, and how Arnel's relationship with Journey's legacy and with Perry was becoming increasingly strained. The constant pressure of filling Perry's shoes started to take its toll, leading to a quiet undercurrent of frustration and division that, over time, became more difficult to ignore. Steve Perry, the legendary voice behind some of Journey's most iconic songs, has always been one of rock music's most enigmatic figures. After a long absence from the public eye, Perry finally broke his silence, and what he revealed about his feelings toward Arnel Pineda's success was a bombshell. For years, fans have speculated about the true reasons behind his departure from the band. But now, at the age of 76, Steve Perry was ready to open up. What he shared about Arnel and the way he had stepped into the role of lead singer after his exit raised more questions than answers and sparked a storm of controversy. For many years, Steve Perry's departure from Journey had been shrouded in mystery. While the official story was that he left due to health problems, personal struggles, and creative differences, fans and the media alike had always wondered if there was more to the story. Over time, Journey moved forward with Arnel Pineda, a talented singer from the Philippines who was discovered through a YouTube video and quickly became the face of Journey's revival. Though Arnel had done an incredible job filling Perry's shoes, taking the band on tour and performing the hits that had made Journey famous, Perry's feelings about his replacement had always been a subject of speculation. When Perry finally spoke out, his words were surprisingly candid. He admitted to feeling a sense of bitterness and resentment towards how things had played out with Journey. While many fans and even members of the band had hoped that Perry would have some kind of public reconciliation with Arnel, it became clear that the veteran singer still held onto some deep feelings of discontent. Perry didn't mince words when describing how he felt about Arnel's success. "It was hard to watch," he said in his interview, referring to Journey's continued rise with Arnel at the helm. "I don't mean that in a mean-spirited way, but it was hard not to feel like everything I worked for was being replaced. Arnel is a great singer, but that was my voice that built this band. It's hard to sit back and watch someone else take it and carry on like nothing happened." The disappointment Perry felt went deeper than just the band's success with a new frontman. For him, it was about the sense of ownership and control he had over Journey's legacy. His distinctive voice had been the driving force behind the band's greatest hits, and his personal connection to the songs was something that no one else could replicate. As Journey went on without him, Perry was left in the shadows, and though he never asked for the spotlight to be on him alone, it was clear he felt hurt by the fact that the band moved on so seamlessly, without looking back. "It was like they had just tossed me aside," he admitted. There was no closure, no understanding. One day I was in the band, and the next I wasn't. Perry explained that, in the beginning, he was supportive of the band continuing with Arnel. He acknowledged that Journey needed a new voice to keep going, and he appreciated the fact that Arnel brought a new energy to the group. But as the years went on, his feelings started to shift. I think in the beginning I was happy for them. I didn't want them to stop making music, I wanted them to keep going, and I thought Arnel was a great fit. But then, as time went on, it started to feel like the band didn't need me anymore. It was like I was just a footnote in the history of Journey. His words made it clear that Perry wasn't just upset about the new frontman, but about how the band seemed to erase him from its history once he left. He felt that Arnel's presence, while undeniably talented, overshadowed the contributions that he had made to the band's success. It wasn't about Arnel. It was about the fact that everything we had built together was being rebranded as something else, Perry said, and that hurt. It's hard to explain, but when you've poured your soul into something for so long, and then someone else is leading the charge, it feels like the world doesn't see you anymore. While Perry's words were filled with emotion, there was also a sense of acceptance in them. He understood that Journey needed to evolve, but he also felt that his legacy was being pushed aside. His frustration wasn't just with Arnel, but with the way the band had handled his departure. I understand that it was a business decision, Perry explained, but it's hard to accept when you've given everything to something and then, just like that, it's no longer yours. It's like you're erased from the story. People forget what you brought to the table, and that's something I had to live with. Perry also touched on the pressure that Arnel must have felt, stepping into such a massive role. I know what it's like to be the voice of a band. I know how it feels to have the weight of an entire legacy on your shoulders, he said. I think Arnel is a great talent, but the pressure on him must have been immense. I could tell early on that it wasn't easy for him. And I get it. Being the new guy in a band that's already legendary is tough. Perry admitted that he never fully understood how Arnel dealt with the constant comparisons to him. I could never live up to what people expected from me, and I don't think Arnel could either. But that's the burden of being in a band like Journey. Despite his discontent, Perry did express admiration for Arnel's dedication and the way he had kept the band going. He acknowledged that Arnel had been crucial in keeping Journey's legacy alive for a new generation of fans. Arnel did what he had to do, Perry said. He carried the torch when the band needed him, and I respect that. I'm not angry at him. I'm angry at the situation. However, Perry's words suggested that, despite his admiration for Arnel's vocal ability, he still couldn't shake the feeling that the band had chosen a path without him, and that path didn't sit well with him. This interview sparked a whirlwind of discussion among Journey fans and the music industry at large. Many were shocked by Perry's honesty, while others were more sympathetic to Arnel's position, seeing him as a talented singer who had to fill very big shoes. Fans of the band were divided. Some felt Perry's pain and understood his frustration, while others believed that Journey had every right to move forward without him. The tension between Perry's legacy and Arnel's success was palpable, and it was clear that this was a conflict that had been brewing for years. In the end, Steve Perry's revelations painted a picture of a man who had given everything to a band he loved, but felt betrayed by the way it all ended. His bitterness wasn't just about Arnel. It was about the band's direction, the way it moved on without him, and the sense of being forgotten after a lifetime of success. And while Perry's words may have created a stir, they also gave fans a glimpse into the emotional complexity of being part of one of the biggest rock bands in history. His relationship with Arnel Pineda, though filled with respect for the man's talent, was clouded by the way their careers had unfolded, and it was clear that this unresolved tension was something Perry would continue to grapple with as he reflected on the legacy he helped create. Steve Perry has always been a figure surrounded by mystery and speculation, particularly regarding his time with Journey. For years, fans have wondered what really led to his departure from the band, and why someone who was so integral to the band's success would walk away at the height of its fame. Perry's voice was the heart and soul of Journey's music, the powerful soaring vocals behind hits like Don't Stop Believin' and Open Arm. When he left, it was a seismic shift, not just for the band, but for rock music itself. The public accepted the reasons he gave at the time: health issues, a desire to move on, but many still questioned if there was more beneath the surface. Perry, for his part, remained largely silent about his true feelings, letting years pass before finally speaking out. In a recent interview at the age of 76, Perry opened up about what was really going on inside his mind when he left the band and how he feels about Journey's current direction. His words surprised many, especially when it came to his thoughts on the band's evolution after he left. Perry wasn't just upset about his departure. It was the band's direction, the way it evolved without him, that still lingered in his mind. While he had always been proud of the band's success, Perry revealed that he felt increasingly disconnected from the band as it grew. His comments shed light on the complex, often painful emotions that he had kept hidden for years. At the time of his departure, Journey was at its peak. The band was selling out arenas, their songs were on the radio constantly, and they were on top of the rock world. But as much as Perry had loved being part of that success, he started to feel like something wasn't right. The band had always been about more than just the music. It was about a shared vision, a passion for creating something together. But over time, Perry began to notice that the heart of the band was changing. It wasn't about the music anymore, he said in his interview. It was about the business. It was about the image, the branding, the tours. We were doing things, but we weren't doing things for the right reasons. I started to lose the connection I had with the music. And when that happens, it's like the magic is gone. This sense of disillusionment didn't happen overnight, but rather gradually. As Journey's success grew, so did the demands. The touring schedule became grueling, and the pressure to produce hit songs and keep the momentum going was constant. Perry, known for his perfectionism and commitment to his craft, started to feel the weight of it all. "I didn't want to be just another guy in a machine," Perry explained. "I wanted to make music that meant something, not just because it was expected or because it would sell. That's when I knew it was time to go." This was a man who had poured his heart and soul into every note he sang, every lyric he wrote. But the pressure of living up to those standards year after year, coupled with the commercial demands of the band, had started to take its toll. It wasn't just the pressure to perform that led to Perry's decision to leave. There was a deeper, more personal struggle happening behind the scenes. Perry admitted that he had begun to feel disconnected from the other members of Journey. The camaraderie that once defined the band had slowly been replaced with tension and, at times, resentment. It wasn't just about the music anymore. It was about egos and power struggles, Perry said. The chemistry was changing. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Perry had always been someone who thrived on emotional connection, both in his music and in his personal life. The dynamic within Journey had shifted, and Perry found himself increasingly at odds with the direction the band was heading. For years, Perry had been the face of Journey, the lead singer whose voice defined the band's sound. But as Journey continued to grow and evolve, he felt like he was being sidelined. The attention shifted away from the music and toward the band's public image. Perry wasn't just struggling with the personal dynamics within the band. He was struggling with the idea that Journey was becoming more of a business than a band. "It was hard to watch," he admitted. "When we started out, it was about the music. But as the years went on, it became about the brand, the money, the success. I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to make music." Perry's words revealed a man who felt like he had lost control over something he had once deeply cared about. Journey was no longer the band he had joined all those years ago. It had become a machine, and he wasn't sure where he fit in anymore. But what was even more difficult for Perry was seeing how Journey continued to evolve after he left. The band found a new frontman in Arnel Pineda, who brought a new energy to the group. While Perry respected Arnel's talent, he couldn't shake the feeling that the band was moving on without him. "I saw them with Arnel, and I'm happy for them. But it was hard to watch. I wasn't ready for that. I thought maybe they'd have me back at some point, but instead they just kept going without me, and that was painful." The idea of someone else stepping into his shoes was difficult for Perry to accept, but what hurt more was the sense that Journey's direction was changing in a way that didn't align with his own values. In his interview, Perry also hinted at a deeper conflict that had been simmering for years, the growing tension between him and other members of the band. Although he didn't go into specifics, it was clear that the relationship between Perry and the rest of Journey had become strained over time. The dynamics within the band had shifted, and it seemed like there was no longer room for Perry's vision of the band's future. "We just grew apart," Perry admitted. "I don't think there was any one moment where everything changed, but it was like the magic was gone. We weren't the same band anymore." As Journey continued to tour with Arnel, Perry found himself on the outside looking in. His decision to leave had been one of the hardest choices of his life, and even now, decades later, it still stung. "I think about it a lot," Perry confessed. "I wonder what would have happened if I had stuck it out, if I had just found a way to make it work. But at the end of the day, I know I made the right decision for myself. The band wasn't the same, and neither was I. We had both changed. It was clear from Perry's words that he had made peace with his departure, but that doesn't mean it didn't still haunt him. The legacy of Journey was something Perry had been a part of, but it was also something he felt disconnected from now. The interview ended with Perry reflecting on his own musical journey and how he had come to terms with the fact that he would never fully reconcile with the direction Journey had taken. He admitted that he had no plans to rejoin the band, and that part of his life was over. "I've moved on," Perry said. "I'm proud of what I did with Journey, but that's in the past now. I have my own path to follow, and I'm okay with that." His words were filled with a sense of closure, but also a lingering sadness. It was clear that while Perry had made peace with his decision to leave, the tension between his vision of the band and the direction it had gone was something that he would never fully shake. For fans of Journey, Steve Perry's revelations were both shocking and eye-opening. The image of the band that had been carefully crafted over the years was now revealed to have been built on more than just music. It was built on tension, frustration, and unspoken struggles. Perry's honesty about his feelings toward Journey's direction and his relationship with the band members gave a new perspective on the band's legacy. It was no longer just a story of a band that changed the world with their music. It was also a story of conflict, personal growth, and the inevitable challenges that come with being part of something so huge. As Perry moves forward, he does so with the knowledge that his time with Journey will always be a defining part of his life, even if the band's journey continued without him. As Steve Perry closed the chapter on his journey with Journey, his reflections on the band, the tensions, and his departure left a bittersweet sense of closure for both him and his fans. Though his legacy with the band will forever remain intertwined with some of rock's most iconic anthems, the road to this point had not been an easy one for Perry. His decision to leave Journey at the height of their success was driven by personal struggles, creative differences, and an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction with the direction the band was heading in. What had once been a collaboration of like-minded individuals working toward a shared dream had, in Perry's eyes, become something far less fulfilling. His revelations about the band's evolving dynamics, particularly his feelings toward the way Journey moved on with Arnel Pineda, added a layer of complexity to the public's perception of the band's history. For years, fans had been fed the story of a smooth transition, with Arnel stepping in as the perfect replacement, carrying on the band's legacy. Perry's candid words shattered that illusion, revealing a deeper story of emotional conflict and personal reflection. The pressure, the comparisons, and the shifting dynamics within the band had taken their toll on Perry, and it was clear that this struggle had been something he carried with him long after he left. Yet, despite the pain and frustration that lingered in his words, Perry's reflections also carried a sense of gratitude. He expressed pride in the music he had helped create and in the way Journey had impacted the world. Though he was no longer part of the band's journey, he acknowledged the role he had played in shaping their success and in creating timeless music that would live on long after his departure. "Journey was my life," Perry said with a soft smile, "and I'll always carry that with me." There was no bitterness in his tone, just a quiet acknowledgement of the paths they had all taken, separate but connected by the music they had created together. As for the future, Perry seemed content with his decision to step away. He had no plans for a reunion, no desire to return to the limelight. "I've made my peace with it," he admitted. "Journey is theirs now. It's their time." Perry's sense of closure was palpable, as if, after years of silence, he had finally let go of the weight that had burdened him for so long. His fans, many of whom had been waiting for years to hear from him, seemed to understand this. While they mourned the loss of his presence in the band, they also celebrated the man who had given them some of the most unforgettable music in rock history. In the end, Steve Perry's story with Journey is one of passion, conflict, and growth. It's a story of a man who gave everything to his band, only to walk away when it no longer aligned with his vision. His recent revelations offer a glimpse into the complexities of fame, the challenges of staying true to one's artistic integrity, and the personal sacrifices that come with being in the spotlight. For fans and for Perry himself, this chapter has come to a close. But his legacy, as the voice of Journey, will endure for generations to come. And while the band continues to tour with Arnel Pineda at the helm, Steve Perry's story will always be a defining part of Journey's history, as complicated as it may be.